Climbing. Specifically rock climbing. What began in the 1900s by brave pioneers with a desire to explore is now a bunch of Gorpcore wearing kids campusing your project. We've come a long way, and so have the tools we use to climb. But most importantly, the climbing shoe. Oh man, I love climbing shoes. I love climbing shoes. I love the way that they're built. I love how it can support your entire weight on just the smallest little edge. I love how they fit like a glove. Shoe technology has come so far from the early days of climbing, and yet I feel like there's one area that's severely lacking. I'm talking about the looks, my dude. I want cooler looking climbing shoes. I want our version of the Jordan 1s or the Kobe 6s. I want more colorways, textures, patterns. I want something that's iconic and recognizable. You might be asking yourself, why does it matter what climbing shoes look like? They're just a tool. And to you, I would say, then what's the point of this video? Imagine a climbing shoe that took inspiration from the other great shoes in other sports. Imagine signature climbing shoes for Janja Garnbret or Sean Rabatou, in the same way that we have them for LeBron James or Cristiano Ronaldo now. That's what I want. Is that too much to ask? Am I becoming a greedy little pig by asking this question? I'm just tired of black rubber, white upper. Black rubber, white upper. Black rubber, white upper. Black rubber, white upper. But before I show you guys how good we could have it, let's go back in time and see how we did have it. Chapter 1. Where did we come from? Where did we go? My name is Cotton Eye Joe. The original climbing shoe was forged by a young Frenchman, Pierre Alain. I'm positive I'm pronouncing that right. The PA boot more closely resembles the basketball shoes of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson than today's climbing shoes. And that's because that's basically what it was. Pierre just needed something lighter than his alpinism boots, so he took his pre-existing sneakers and tacked on some extra rubber on the sides and toe caps. By 1979, the Boreal Fire came onto the market, being the first shoe with climbing-specific rubber. Boreal's main objective for this shoe was to develop a climbing rubber compound that not only offered superior friction, but a finely tuned balance between durability, viscosity, and abrasion resistance. And it freaking worked. When climbing legend John Backer got his hands on him, he was freaking stoked. Backer teamed up with Boreal and had 265 pairs of shoes sent to him in Yosemite, which were sold out in just 2 hours. These were selling like cold lemonade on a hot day. These were selling like tires to a guy that had a car with no tires on it. That's what it was selling like. The year is 1991. And 510 just introduced the first downturn climbing shoe. It allowed climbers to stand on smaller edges and to climb more effectively on overhung routes. But that wasn't just the only invention the 510 UFO introduced. Notice anything different about these shoes? I'll give you a little hint. Look how you secure your foot in the shoe. Velcro. Yeah, we're going baby mode with these shoes. These were the first freaking climbing shoes to have Velcro straps to enclose your dogs in them. And you better believe they were barking to get in there. This shoe had an immense impact on climbing in general, but most of all the trajectory of climbing shoes to the modern age. By 2007, we entered the modern age of climbing shoes with the La Sportiva Solutions. Now with an even more aggressively downturned toe box and a 3D molded heel, these were freaking weapons. These shoes were worn by some of the strongest climbers climbing some of the hardest routes in the world. But most importantly, they were worn by me. That's right, me. I'm a climber. Yeah, it comes pretty naturally for me, I guess. A real natural, people say.
Oh, fuck yeah, Nico.
You thought I was gonna fall again, didn't you? You've got absolutely no belief in me, huh? You don't think I could send any climb? I've been climbing for nearly 8 years now. And with that comes a lot of pairs of climbing shoes. After a year of climbing, I had to step it up. I was projecting that pink V3 in the corner and something was holding me back. No, it wasn't my god-awful technique or refusal to read the route. It was my freaking climbing shoes. So I googled best climbing shoes and there they were, the La Sportiva Solutions. If they were good enough for Adam Ondra to send silence, they were good enough for me, right? So I ordered them a couple sizes down from my street shoe size and $200? What the heck? I spent $200 on climbing shoes when I was in college? What was I thinking? I bought the dang Lamborghini of climbing shoes. I basically bought a Lamborghini without knowing how to drive. And I didn't just buy one pair. I bought pair after pair after pair as I continued to blow through the toe rubber every 6 months. Don't worry, I eventually learned my lesson and realized I didn't need such specialized climbing shoes for climbing in the gym. I was just wasting my money. And honestly, my foot didn't even fit very well in them. The heel was far too bulbous for me. So I swapped them out for the Scarpa Instincts. Now, they might not have the same notoriety as the Solutions do, but $210? These are even more expensive than the last pair. Am I clinically insane? And yeah, I bought a bunch of pairs over the years. Okay, but for real, I actually did learn my lesson eventually. After I sustained a finger injury, I knew I wasn't going to be climbing super hard, so I just wanted to get a comfortable pair of climbing shoes, the Madrox Remoras. And honestly, I haven't had the desire to return to the aggressively downturned, too small for your feet climbing shoes. I'm comfy in my Remoras and climbing harder than I ever have before. V0. You see, I had a series of finger injuries, but I'm better now. How, you might ask, if I could hear you talking at your screen? I have a hangboard in my bedroom and have been following a 2-day hang protocol for the last couple months. My fingers are feeling stronger and healthier than they have in years. And I lay in bed, falling asleep, looking at my hangboard. It's got so many hold types. It's 20mm edges, 35-degree slopers, 2 honkin' jugs. Chapter 2. Not all bad. It's important to look at the state of climbing shoes now in 2025. Although I feel the majority of them can be improved on, there are some climbing shoes that we can learn from and even take inspiration from for the next generation of climbing shoes. So, let's quickly look through the top 5 coolest looking climbing shoes from past and present. Thankfully, this is a fully objective list, so there's no need for anyone to get upset with me. Coming in at number 5, the Evolve Phantom. I mean, these things look like a freaking weapon. They are lethal. If Batman was a rock climber, he would climb in these. The enclosure system is a bit of a mess, but hey, I'm cool with it. I'm chill. I got no problem that the Velcro straps go inward instead of outward. That doesn't bother me at all. That doesn't mess with my lizard brain at all. It doesn't. Let's move on. One thing that I do like about these shoes that I often don't like about other shoes is the simplicity of color. I think this is a good example of how a minimalist color palette can be effective and look awesome. Moving on to number 4, the La Sportiva TC Pro. These are classics. They're mostly seen on big wall climbers like Tommy Caldwell and Alex Honnold. These are like the Toyota Tacoma of climbing shoes. And I mean that exclusively as a compliment. I love the Toyota Tacoma. They're not fancy, they're not shiny, they're not too eye-catching. They're simple with a lovely olive green colorway. I love the two-tone upper. It just adds a nice depth to them. Oh man, and the detail stitching of the Dawn wall and the Freerider route on the side. That is just French kiss. Not chef's kiss. French kiss. Hitting us at number 3, Ocon Fury. I have never once seen anyone wear these climbing shoes in person. These bad boys feel like they're gonna come in on an Akira slide. I love the color palette. I love the bold colors that you just often don't see in climbing shoes. Everything is often a lot more muted, and to see the vibrancy in these is so exciting. These also give me Medic vibes, which I like for whatever reason. The red and the blue are so bright and vibrant. They kind of make me think they belong in an ambulance with the red and blue. And I like that. I like ambulances. Okay. I'm pro EMT. Am I going to get canceled for that? Well, shoot. Next up, number 2, the Tenaya Indalo. They've got this sick teal colorway that makes them look like they were summoned from Superman's Fortress of Solitude or something. I really like the enclosure system and how the 2 straps converge into the badge at the end. It also really helps that I like their logo and their frog icon. It just makes it feel a little less serious, which is like a breath of fresh air because most of the climbing shoes that you typically see feel like they take themselves very seriously. But the main reason these shoes do it for me compared to the others on the list is simply the colorway. The icy blue is just something you don't often see in climbing shoes. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but most climbing shoes, I just feel like it's a lot of like red or blue or white. And when it is blue, it's usually a much safer blue, like what you see on the Madrox Remoras or the Scarpa Instinct VSRs. And speaking of Scarpa, my number 1 pick for the coolest looking climbing shoes, Scarpa Instinct VSR Limited Edition. Can you tell by the last 2 choices that my favorite color is blue? For whatever reason, there's something that feels so timeless about them. They remind me of like Adidas Sambas. Now, I'm biased. I do already love the original Scarpa Instincts. I wore them for years. And for a long time, I wanted the Instinct VSRs for the black and blue colorway. But then a friend of mine had a pair of these, and I was taken back by a pair of climbing shoes. Is that embarrassing? Yeah. I had just never seen them before. And I find it's rare to have a pair of climbing shoes that implement 3 different colors in them. Often when they do, it feels kind of loud and muddy to me, like the La Sportiva Geniuses. But with the VSR limited editions, they really tastefully added color, I think. Like adding seasoning to an already perfect steak. I don't know how to season steak. I've never made a steak in my life. But I assume seasoning would make it better. Some other shoes that I really liked that didn't make the list were the La Sportiva Cubo Low Volume, the La Sportiva Futuras and Mantras in their new like tannish colorway, and the Scarpa Dragos. My biggest complaint about current climbing shoe designs is just it feels like they're not taking any risks. They're trying to appeal to everyone, and when you try to appeal to everyone, you're gonna appeal to no one. That's like a life lesson for you. Have that in one of those like Hopecore TikToks. If you try to appeal to everyone, you'll end up appealing to no one. Also, I've got like this like spot on my back, and I don't know what it is. If anyone has any thoughts, that would be helpful. It's easy for me to critique shoes from afar. I just point out what I like and what I don't, the good and the bad. But that brings me to chapter 3, a better future. Okay, so what would a cooler pair of climbing shoes actually look like? What would it look like if the people in charge actually took the necessary risks to make a really memorable climbing shoe? Well, they're not doing it right now, so I did. I sketched up some designs of what I think really rad shoes would look like. I thought if I'm gonna sit here and talk about all the things I don't like, I should at least put pen to digital paper and show you what I do like. My first shoe concept is a signature shoe for Ashima Shiraishi. If you're unfamiliar, Ashima is a pro climber who specializes in primarily outdoor climbing. Age 10, she was climbing V13, which is insane. A staple of her climbing attire was these custom pants that her mom would make for her. For this design, I wanted to take some of the patterns from a pair of climbing pants that she has worn before and see how we could apply that pattern to a pair of climbing shoes. She primarily climbs in Evolve Zenith, so I took that silhouette for this shoe and then reworked some of the colors and got this. I'm pretty happy with this concept, honestly. We've got this really lovely flower pattern from her pants that are on the Velcro strap and on the inner mesh peeking through the rubber, which I think is really nice. And then I tried to complement it with this like eggshell and cream color. I'm not delusional in thinking that this is like the best pair of climbing shoes that could exist. I just think this is a good example of what a pair of climbing shoes could look like for a signature athlete and using some bolder and riskier patterns and colorways. I then started to go back and look at other shoe designs that I remembered really enjoying as a kid. I played soccer growing up, and I remembered the Adidas F50s being a really cool soccer cleat. And so I wanted to see how that would feel as a climbing shoe. I basically ripped the F50 one for one and applied it to the Scarpa Instincts. I tweaked it a little bit. I added a shoelace cover onto the climbing shoes just because that's what they have on the F50s. And I think that if this was like a laced up version of the Instincts, it would be fun to also have that lace cover. And then I took that kind of spider web pattern and put it over the blue gradient. I think I like these because they remind me almost of the Mad Rock Remoras that I currently climb in, just with a little bit more zest. Or dare I say seasoning, like how you would add seasoning to a steak. Next up, I took Cristiano Ronaldo's Safari boot from back in the day. It was an absolute favorite of mine when I was growing up, and I always really wanted to wear them when playing soccer, but never did. So I applied this design to the La Sportiva Mantras, and I think they look really cool, honestly. It's just fun and doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just nice to see climbing shoes that has a bit more personality. I really like the orange accents as well. I mean, I would climb in these maybe. I'm realizing that maybe this just isn't the sort of style of stuff that I wear. Oh, hey, there's a little bug there. I don't know if you saw there was a little flying bug. Let me see if I can get it. I freaking got it. I don't know if you can see it. No, I just dropped it, and that's gonna be hard to find now on my rug. I started to think about basketball shoes next. I mean, the most classic sneakers, of course, are like the Air Jordan 1s and the Air Jordan 3s. So I took the Air Jordan 1 and 3 to see what that would look like on the La Sportiva TC Pros and the La Sportiva Solutions. I think the Solution is my favorite of the two for sure. The elephant pattern on the upper toe rubber and heel are so sweet and maybe something that could actually be made. My next design, I want to do something a little different. I realized I was looking in the past for most of my inspiration. So I started to think about the future. What would it look like if I looked so far in the future? If you can even imagine it. The year 2015. Marty McFly comes out of the DeLorean at the base of El Capitan and is about to climb the nose, and he laces up his pair of climbing shoes. No. He doesn't lace. They lace themselves. I present to you the La Sportiva TC Mags. And a pair of these, you can get them for, I don't know, $10,000. I really love climbing. I've started nearly 8 years ago, and it's one of the things I do most in my life. And I think it's so important for you to be able to express yourself so the way that you think about yourself is more closely to the way that people perceive you. It's an incredible feeling when you put on a nice outfit and you just feel good in your clothes and about yourself. Climbing shoes are such a small aspect of that, but there is such a nice feeling about getting a fresh pair of climbing shoes before they smell like shit and are covered in chalk. But I think it would be cool if climbing shoes experimented a bit more with their colorways and designs, took more risks like Jordan 3s or CR7 Safari boots. And what's cool is while I was researching this video, I actually stumbled upon some shoes that are doing just that. La Sportiva made custom climbing shoes for all the Olympic athletes. And Ashima Shirishi actually has a signature climbing shoe in collaboration with Braindead and Evolve. And that freaking rips. Those shoes are cool and they take risks. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you're taking care of yourself. Okay. Bye. Bye-bye. It's so hot in my apartment. I gotta turn the AC on.